comic book movies are a huge part of Hollywood cinema, from the classics of the MCU, to the superhero movies that defined a generation, to reimaginings that are currently making their mark in the industry. But if you go back a few decades, comic book movies were not the juggernaut they are today. In fact, they were seen as a joke and a foolish gamble for studios. It was unheard of that a superhero movie would be liked, let alone a success. But then suddenly, the genre started to gain traction and became the powerhouse of storytelling and gigantic success that it is today. And while many credit a variety of movies for kickstarting this golden age for the genre, from Iron Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Bryan Singer's X-Men, to Tim Burton's Batman to even Blade, after looking into it, there's no denying that none of these are to thank for making the comic book genre what it is today. And instead is all thanks to a film that came out years before any of those, a film that has stood the test of time and is still an icon of not only superhero movies, but of all cinema in general, and that movie is none other than Richard Donner's Superman the movie, a movie that back then was a huge risk. While Superman is still one of the most iconic and famous characters and superheroes of all time, back then, he was a big deal, getting TV shows and cartoons, and was arguably as popular as Mickey Mouse. Nowadays the character is still popular and gets movies, but nowhere near as popular as he was back then, and was the definitive superhero along with Spider-Man, so making a movie based on him was a huge gamble, cause if this failed, it would completely damage the character's reputation, but thankfully it didn't. It was a super success, and would set the standard for superhero movies to tell their stories and establish their world and characters. Now you might be wondering, why am I saying this movie is to thank for how comic book movies would become such a big thing and an avenue for top-tier storytelling and character development? Well, let's talk about why Superman the movie is the most important comic book movie of all time. Now there were superhero movies before Superman the movie came out, but like monster flicks, they were not seen in high regard. Most of them were just seen as gimmicky slop. It wasn't until Richard Donner and Christopher Reeve showed that you can make a great movie with superheroes with great writing and emotional depth that truly make these characters come alive. It established the structure for how superheroes' origin should be told and how to make an engaging, unforgettable experience. The way it tells its story and develops its characters is the standard structure of how to introduce a hero and explain their origins and core beliefs and morals. And it was Superman that showed how to tell a superhero story right and paved the way for many others to create iconic stories, films and universes that we have today. Without Superman, the comic book genre wouldn't be what it is today, and it shows that even though Batman and Spider-Man are more relatable and fleshed out, it was Superman that set the foundation for them to thrive. Superman is the definitive superhero even if he isn't as popular or beloved like Spidey or the Dark Knight, not so much for his powers, but for what he stands for and what he fights for and believes in. And that is why I think even though he isn't as popular as he was back then, he is still very much important and relevant, and why he stands the test of time no matter what. He is still getting movies and TV shows despite not being as big of a box office draw or public discussion in the zeitgeist as Spider-Man or Batman, cause he represents true heroism and the standard ideology of superheroes. Which is why he endures. This movie also showcases how to introduce the love interest and the villain, despite them not being as good as love interests and villains that would come in later movies. Lois Lane and Lex Luthor are still greatly handled and developed excellently in the story. They were perfectly incorporated into the story and again paved the way for many great in-depth characters. The action is also really well executed. It is one of the most important aspects of any superhero film. If the action isn't good, then your movie suffers, but it doesn't suffer, and in fact, for its time, the action is thrilling and engaging, and it truly feels like this man is really flying thanks to brilliant cinematography and camera movement. The costume is one of the best suits in a comic book movie to date, right up there with the Raimi Spider-Man suit, the Tim Burton Batman suit and the Iron Man suit, and the Avengers Captain America suit. Like many said, it truly feels like the comics brought to life, especially with the main man himself, Christopher Reeve, who to this day, is still the best Superman. Come at me all you Snyder and Cavill fans. Christopher Reeve still embodies the look and core personality of Superman, and that is something that has not been topped, not even by Corn's Wet. Christopher Reeve is still the picture-perfect Superman. Overall guys, Superman the movie is truly a game-changer for film and superheroes. I'm not saying it's perfect, especially when a lot of the effects and sets have aged like milk and can look pretty cheesy. But it is an important film and shaped what superhero movies would become, and if this movie wasn't there, the comic book industry wouldn't have been confident enough to take a chance on other superheroes to tell fantastic stories and give them excellent development and take them in interesting directions. This movie showed how to do a superhero movie right and execute characters and world properly, and it being the success it was led to many studios taking a chance on other well-known heroes and unknown. Without Superman the movie, we wouldn't have gotten Batman or Spider-Man or Iron Man or the Avengers. Just like we wouldn't have gotten Super Mario Bros. Movie without Sonic. Maybe studios would have made movies based on them eventually, but they wouldn't have taken them seriously or had the confidence to give them movies if it wasn't for Superman. Superman set the standard for how to tell the story of a superhero, how to incorporate the most important elements, and most importantly get us invested. This movie is a film that kickstarted the golden age of comic book movies, and it probably wouldn't be as big or successful as it became if it wasn't for the movie who showed us a man could indeed fly. And that is why Superman the movie is the most important comic book movie of all time. Anyways guys, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys later.